Hey guys, I've got my March wrap up today. The first thing I read in March was Yellow Wallpaper by Perkins Gilman. This is like teeny tiny and it also feels really weird. It feels almost like suede, which is odd. This is journal entries from the main character Jane, who is like really not allowed to do anything because her husband's like, you're ill, stay in this room. And because she's got nothing to do, she kind of obsesses over the wallpaper pattern in her room, and that just spirals into her going a bit mad, basically. The next thing I read was Interpreter of Maladies by Jhumpa Lahiri. This is a collection of short stories all about Indian migrants. I really liked Jhumpa's way of writing because they're all short stories, so there's so many characters in this. They were all completely different to each other and they were all enjoyable to read. I did find reading all of these as a whole quite a sad experience. Like, a lot of them are just sad. Like, they're not sad bawl your eyes out sad, they're just kind of like not extremely happy, but I did really enjoy them because there was a whole host of lives and characters and stories told in this. The next thing I read was Solid Geometry by McEwan. This was about a man who's got all of his like grandfather's diaries that he's reading through, and like that's kind of his sole focus, and his wife's like, you're ignoring me, pay attention to me. And then he reads in the diary about this maths professor who figures out a way to fold paper that it just disappears completely, and the guy does that with his wife. I don't really know what I read. I'm great at describing books. The next thing I read was The Devil in Amber by Gatiss. This time Lucifer Box is a bit older than he was in the Vesuvius Club. He's now middle-aged, and it starts out in America where he's kind of given like one last mission. This one involves the actual devil. I don't know how to pronounce the name of the creature that like they bring back. It's like Bainbajed? I don't know. The character in this that's like the bad guy is Olympus Mons, who is bringing the devil into it, and Lucifer's job ends up being having to stop that, even though that's not what his last mission started out as being. And like Mons is a leader and he's got all these amber shirts and it's a bit scary stuff. I did enjoy this one. I think I prefer the Vesuvius Club over this one, but I don't know. This was like equally as packed with plot, I guess. Like a lot of stuff happens in these books because they're adventure-y kind of books, you know, spy thriller things. They're fun to read. They do have a lot going on, so I do enjoy that about them. The last thing I read in March was Breakfast on Pluto by McCabe. This is about the character Pussy, who was Patrick Braden. They started life out in a little Irish town. Then during the war that happened in Ireland, they ended up going to England where they work as a transvestite rent boy in London. It flicks about everywhere from like being in Ireland to being in London, and it's basically this person's like life and like the hardships they faced, I guess, because they were conceived by a rapist of a priest and then just dumped on the doorstep. So it's not the best start in life. As a concept, that does sound like an interesting thing to read about, but I didn't particularly like the way this was wrote. I struggled to get on board with it because the chapters are ridiculously tiny and it jumps about everywhere within the storyline. They were writing this to their doctor who asked them to write it down, so it did feel quite like personal in the writing, but the fact that it was lots of snippets of things, I did almost feel like I was getting quite lost because it would just start talking about a character and I'd be like, who the hell is this? But it was an interesting story. So yeah, that's everything I read in March. Let me know what you read in March in the comments, or if you read any of the books I read and what you thought of them. Please like and subscribe and all that stuff, and I'll see you guys later. Bye!